5 or 6 seconds. And boom, we are live. Welcome to the February 2024 Chart Champions Coaches Roundtable. I am Scott Silva. I'm a professional trader, a longtime member of Chart Champions, and I am the host of the monthly roundtable. Please join me in welcoming two of our most esteemed coaches, Daniel and Rivalry.
Yo, nice to be here, mate.
Happy to have you guys. Welcome, welcome. I wanted to just one quick housekeeping item. We are going to do a members Q&A at the end of our discussion tonight. So feel free to put your questions in the chat on chartchampions.com. We will be checking them there. Please keep them on topic for our discussion. And we will also have a review of the Bitcoin price later, where Coach Daniel, will go over the charts, update his levels, and show you what he's thinking next. And we'll also have Coach Rivalry taking a look at ES and giving us his insight on the overall market. So without further ado, I would love to get into our main topic of discussion tonight. And this is one that holds a place close to my heart. I have, since I've been, able to in college, I've been loving just traveling around the world, checking out different cultures, meeting new people, and overall just exploring. And so our topic of discussion tonight is travel and exploration. And I know both Rivalry and Daniel have had travel in different ways in their life. I know both of them have traveled extensively. And so I'm really looking forward to getting into this topic of discussion tonight. So I think with that, will start off with Coach Daniel and open it up for the first question. So Daniel, this is the first one, is a zinger. So hope you're ready. What is your all-time favorite travel destination and why?
Yes, it's a hard question actually, because I would say I have like a lot of places which I've always really loved, but I would have to say that probably my all-time number one favorite, hard to say, but I would probably say Peru, in South America. That was one that I'll never forget. And yeah, obviously Machu Picchu was the primary reason of being number one. It's just yeah, never seen anything like that in my life. Just the of course I've seen mountains, but nothing of that magnitude, as well as, the climb to get up to it, and the whole experience behind that just makes it so unique. And yeah, that really made Peru for me like a really, really special place. The nature, basically the nature, and yeah, the views that you get from the mountains, it's just absolutely incredible. I'd say Peru is my number one favorite place to travel to and visit.
Well, I've only ever seen pictures, and it really does look like a whole different world up there. It's almost like a pilgrimage to get there. What was the process like getting there, and what did you find out of that? What was the experience like?
So it's actually really funny. So at the time, this was back in 2017 when I went there for the first time, and I went with my friend back in school. We've been friends for ages, and I travelled with him. We stayed friends, and it was just me and him. And at the time, I was just like getting into Spanish and knew a bit of Spanish, and he knew absolutely none. And yeah, we first landed in Bolivia, and then from Bolivia we went to Peru. I know the other way around. No, we started in Peru. No, we did start in Peru. Yeah, we went directly there. So this was we were spending a few months around South America and North America, and so we got the plane from London to landed in Peru. And yeah, the first things that I can just remember was just thinking, like, just so excited back in the time, because it was my first like big, like, longer trip that this was like a several month trip, so it was like really exciting, and yeah, no, just looking to get forward and forward to it, and it was kind of fun, kind of funny looking back on it now. But my friend actually got like on the second day ultra sunburnt. And so he actually got so badly sunburned that he had like blisters all over his face and like really, really, really bad. And he was ill then for like a long time. But at the time, it was like sad. But looking back, it's really funny when we get together. But yeah, we managed to get up there. But because we were planning to actually like, there's two ways you can get to the top of Machu Picchu. You can do like a fast way and a slow way. One is walking up, which takes between like 3 to 5 days, which is what we originally wanted to do. And then he got so badly sunburned, he was like, I can't do this anymore. So we got up there via like a bus. It takes you like 75% of the way there. When we started on a train, you get a train to about 50%, then you get a bus for like 20%, and then you walk the last bit. So we done like the mixture of the train and the bus, and then the walk at the end. It was still difficult, to be fair. Like you still have to be fit to walk up that bit, but nothing in comparison to like what we wanted to do. So I'd love to go back there and do it at some point, but yeah, when you're up there, I can only imagine that now it's like even more popular. Back in 2017, it was obviously popular, but I don't think as much as it is now. So when we were there wasn't really a lot of tourists. We had like a lot of space to ourselves. So it was like a really beautiful place, and then just going up to the top and like you're literally chilling in the mountains with like birds, hearing birds around you and in the sky, and yeah, it's just an incredible, like peaceful, peaceful place to be.
It sounds really special, and the fact that you guys had a lot of space, there wasn't many other tourists. Um, and then I would imagine from your friend's perspective, after you get a bad sunburn, I'm sure the last thing you want to do is go climb up a mountain. So I certainly empathize with him, and I hope that there's pictures to that he can forever memorialize that sunburn.
Oh man, yeah, we took a lot of pictures. I'll tell you one really, really funny thing, because one thing that was really funny about the memory I remember the most about it is that he got really badly sunburned, and um, like a few days later, we got to the hotel, and he was so badly like he was starting to feel sick, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not the sunburn because it's also really high. I think it's one of the top five. This was it's a very, very high altitude, the place that we were staying. I wanted to say like top five, but I'm not going to say that because I'm not too sure anymore, but it's very high nevertheless. So I was like, it could be also the altitude sickness, it's maybe the sunburn as well, so we didn't really know. So I phoned like the doctor to come out and take a look at him, and the doctor came, and she only spoke Spanish, and I knew a little bit of Spanish. My friend knew none, so I said to my friend, yeah, I'll like translate what she says for you. And it was just like the funniest thing, because the doctor was like, yeah, you need to tell him to take down his trousers, because we're going to inject him in the ass with like some injection thing to make him feel better. I said to my friend, like, yeah, you need to take down your trousers because they're going to inject you in the ass. And he was like, no, I don't believe you. I thought I was like trolling him. It just makes me laugh all the time, because I'm like, no, it's actually like real. You need to do this. That was like a really funny memory that we always laugh about. But yeah, if I didn't know a little bit of Spanish back then, it would have been like so hard to travel South America. So thankfully I knew a bit, but yeah, no, nevertheless, like a really, really amazing place.
Couldn't agree more, and I hope to go there someday myself. And since then, you've obviously become proficient at speaking Spanish, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. But for now, I'd love to switch over to Paolo and ask you the same question. What is your all-time favorite travel destination, and why is that?
Mine's gonna actually be very similar to Daniel's because um, I think we come from a unique perspective because we've been so blessed. Honestly, anybody that lives in a Western society, I think, is blessed. But mine is honestly where I went to combat tour twice was Afghanistan, and I think the culture is very beautiful. Um, the people are so welcoming, and I know even as Westerners. you'll often, like when we watch movies, and there's always this misconception of what they're like. They're actually very, very peaceful people. They're just very tribal. On Western side, Western civilization, we're run like by governments, but there, when you head to Afghanistan, it's like all tribes, right? So even like a small tribe has its own government, and then you go like literally 2-3 miles a different direction, it's like there's another tribal leader with totally different laws. But every time you go into these quote unquote mini cities, they're very welcoming. They're very kind. They offer you everything. Just think of perspective. Like, let's say, like I have a really old bottle of wine, right, in my cupboard here, and I also have 28-day aged meat, right? And then let's say some random person comes and visits me, I'm gonna offer that. I would only like, but on Western culture, we'll only do that for like our really good friends, right? But there, you go there, they'll give you everything. They'll give you their literally what they were saving for a celebration. It's like a celebration for them. If you're visiting their home, it's like an honor. And to me, when I visit different countries, I always look at the culture. I'm always integrated with the people, and to me that was very beautiful. And not to mention at night, which since there's not many buildings there, you could see the stars. It's probably like that in the desert, but it's not the same. And because of all the distractions Western society gives you, it gives you a unique perspective to just look back and see how blessed you really are. It lets you give you that reset, where you can just sit back, look back, and understand what you have and how much some of these people don't have, but they're so thankful for the little that they do. But really, it's perspective, because to them, they have everything, right? And you give them, like, let's say a piece of chocolate, like, goes a long way there. They treat it like it's gold. So it really resets your mindset. And I just love the people, honestly. But that's my all-time favorite.
And I want to get into that because I don't know as much about that culture, but I know the family is very important in that culture. It's sort of at
Yes,
the center of that culture. When
absolutely.
you did you were you able to share meals with some of these people
Oh,
and
absolutely.
in that kind of way?
Absolutely. I ate a lot of goat. So, um, different, and everybody there, they do like they squat and sit together and eat with their hands, and everyone sits in one, and they drink a lot of tea there, which is new to me. I've never, a lot of the Europeans, they love tea. Like we're coffee drinkers here in America. But there's all about like black tea, a little bit of milk. So every morning they would give you coffee. I'm sorry, tea with milk, and then you would all sit around. Everything, if it's a business meeting, tribal meeting, or just hanging out, you're eating. All you're doing is eating all the time. Like say, hey, let's get the goat, and then they'll drain the blood like right in front of you. It's insane. It's crazy. And when I actually got an experience from that, I was one of the ones that were near and dear to my heart. They're like, hey, you wanna? One of the translators was like, hey, he's asking you if you wanna drain the goat. I was like, what? Like kill the goat. I was like, do it.
Good honor.
So that was quite the experience, and they're all very welcoming people. But yes, when you sit down and eat, you sit down together, and even right now with family, sometimes I know myself, I'm eating at the desk, which is really bad. It really gets you to, like I said, really think about the little things.
Couldn't agree more. And oftentimes I do that as well. I'll have meals at my desk while I'm working. And that's why when I love when I'm traveling and I'm almost forced to have meals with people that I love and people that I'm traveling with, and I have to be present in those moments. I think that's why it feels so special.
Mm.
Just one more quick question on the topic. In the desert, at night, besides obviously the sounds of things around you and war, was it quiet and could you see the stars?
Oh, absolutely. You can see everything out there. And you could hear, I don't know if it's me just hearing things, but I mean, you could definitely hear animals, but there's a stillness and a peace when it comes to having no distractions and being in the wilderness, which is, part of my faith. Like Jesus always was in saying, hey, you're going to go into the desert. And that's very similar to when I'm placed in there, it really gives you that reset of kind of being in oneness with your creator, you know. And I'm not trying to divert into the whole religious thing, but you know, just for me, when you see the beauty of just like, you know, mountains, rivers, uh animals, all these things, it's very difficult for me to say to myself, hey, this was done by a wonderful creator, you know. Like I cannot say to myself that as I sit in the wilderness and just being marveled by the beauty of creation, it's just hard for me to deny that. But yeah,
I couldn't agree more, and you said it brilliantly. And also, I feel whenever I go out on a trip, you almost you forget what it's like to be at home, and then you miss home, and then you're looking forward to getting back, but you're still in the moment while you're out there, and you almost find a new piece of yourself in
yeah,
that new presence, you know. And so I think there's something really
ab-
special about this for me.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, Daniel, I know that you have done a lot of traveling, and traveling's been a big part of your life. Maybe not so much for the past couple months, but how, just pivoting topics a little bit, how has your travels and your exploration, how has that impacted your trading style? Like in the way that has it made you more of a swing trader, or those type of things?
Yeah, so I would say that yeah, obviously this year has been like the first year where I've really, well, if you take into 2023, I'm on about, but from 2023 onwards is the first time in a long time that I kind of become much more of a swing trader, not taking so many like really low term time frame scalp trades. Obviously, when I was starting, I'd trade on, you know, happily on like 1 minute, 30-second charts, but nowadays, what I think I'm not sure if I would solely put it down to traveling really, but more just like the way that I enjoy to trade. Because even like for the past few months, I've just been in my house doing like just in front of my computer. I could happily still go back to trading on a 30-second chart, but I just enjoy more swing trading now. So I'm not sure if I could correlate it exactly to like travel, but I would say that in general, just a like for swing trading. But I would say like in general though, when traveling, it's like way easier to be a swing trader anyway, because yeah, if you know if one day you've got a day trip plan to go, I don't know, to the beach, whatever. Like you can check the charts in the morning, do half an hour of technical analysis, go and enjoy your day at the beach, and then come back and, you know, if you took a trade in the morning, see what's happened via the evening, or vice versa. Plan out your trade in the morning, see if it's come to your price in the evening. I'm not good at, you know, that would be a perfect world, I suppose. I'm more of like set it up in the morning, go to the beach and still be on my phone in the beach, like if I got to trade. But nevertheless, like in a perfect world, like you wouldn't do that, I suppose. But yeah, I think that as a if someone is like I suppose a good way of thinking of it would be maybe like a nomad, as someone that's traveling a lot, working remotely, not in one fixed location. You know, I met a lot of nomads, and they none of them actually. A lot of them were not even traders and didn't know about trading. But I speak to these people that are traveling a lot, and they're into this nomadic scene where they want to be working online, and you know they're very, you know, modern thinking. And you know I speak to them a lot about trading, and some of them have got into it, and now they're like, wow, this is like the best way to like live and work. But yeah, they also the ones that I've kind of converted to trading, they are all swing traders, because although they like me, they could be scalp traders, but as someone that's moving around and doesn't have a fixed location, if you're always on a laptop, then I don't know, I just feel it's like a lot easier to swing trade. Like you just need trading view. You don't need to be on order flow and lower term time frame charts, which has got its place, right? But yeah, it's just a lot easier as a swing trader to just look at trading view.
I agree, and I always when I go travel, I usually take off any of my low time frame trades, and I typically just stick to the higher time frame chart as well. But I know that Paolo, for example, is someone who is a low time frame scalper. Paolo, I mean, you've traveled before. Do you bring a trading setup with you, or are you typically leaving that back at home for only trading in your home office?
So my home office is set up with two 49-inch widescreens and a vertical 27-inch screen. So it's very, I mean, I wouldn't be able to bring it, unfortunately. But when I do travel, I use a laptop with, they call it a Zebic. You guys can look it up, and it's not a plug. Don't worry, I'm not going to get no commissions on it. But it's a attachment that allows me to like add screens to the side. Personally, for myself, I definitely size down. You know, even as a professional trader, this is what I do for a living. It's very difficult for me to go backwards. You know, there's a lot of profitable traders out there that trade solely off their phone, solely off a laptop, and I'm just not one of them. You know, I am fixed in my ways, and you know that's one of the rules I have. If I'm not comfortable, I'm not going to trade. I do trade, however, when I travel, I just size down a lot because it's kind of like, let's say let's say a Lexus, right? A Lexus performance car, really really nice car, right? But then prior to driving that, you were driving like a Bugatti. You know, like it's really hard to go back to a Lexus if you're driving a Bugatti. So, like my trading setup is the Bugatti. Like this is what really allows me to look at multiple time frames, be quick in and out of low time frame scalping. But if I'm gonna day trade, if I'm gonna swing trade, I think off your phone, laptop is perfectly fine. But as myself, I consider myself a micro scalper. Like I'm taking like anyone who is very familiar with futures, it's like 8 to 12 ticks per TP I make. And then on the Nasdaq, it would be what, 10 handles, which is 10 points. That ain't much. So that's like from let's say 18,000 to 1810. That's very little. So, and I'm sizing in fairly hard. So, but
And I
yeah.
was just speaking to someone about this, and we were talking about it can be a matter of minutes, sometimes even before your trade is already completed. And
Hmm.
that's the exciting part about, being right in front of the desk and having all the action in front of you with the order flow. So,
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
so I know you're a former military professional, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you very much for your service and protecting our freedom here in the United States. How do you think your travel with the military has affected your global perspective? How does that change? How has that changed your perspective on the world? I know we talked a little bit about it, but wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that.
Man, just being more thankful. Honestly, just being thankful is going to probably be the general theme for a lot of the things we're talking about, but truly it's underrated because discipline is a huge thing when it comes to trading, right? And I know I'm attached on Discord. I'm part of like all those other props, and recently there was like an outage on Tradeovate, there was an outage on Rhythmic, and then you would just take a good look at some of these Discord chats and people are just losing their minds like, oh my gosh, it's Rhythmic's down, oh my gosh, Tradeovate's down, this is for futures, right? And for me, I was affected as well, but you know, it is what it is, right? And that's no different than somebody losing their mind if bullets are flying, like so it's kind of, you're going in there expecting something to happen. So when I enter a trade, you know, uh it's going to be either right or invalidated. But then you also have to take into account outside influences, right? So let's say you're in the like you're in a mission for, and you're deployed. You have a HVT, high value target. You're going in there, and you got to do what you have to do, and then out of nowhere something pops up. Nothing ever goes according to plan. What are you gonna do? You're gonna just sit there and start whining on Discord? Like it's insane. No, you're gonna pivot, and you're gonna be like water, right? You can be flexible, like what Bruce Lee says, be like water. No, that like if it becomes the cup, so be the cup. So it's very, very similar in that regard. So for myself, when I run into situations, whether I have a bad day or I have an unexpected events such as what happened today. There was actually a Rhythmic outage today and a Trade of 8 outage yesterday. it was something that you just have to go with the flow and just accept it as a loss. Luckily these firms were kind enough to reset some people that were affected, but it's not like that in your downrange, right? No one's gonna, it ain't Call of Duty where you're just gonna hit the reset button after you get hit and shot, right? Like some of these guys are. But that really shows the maturity side of a lot of people that want to be traders, and I think that's really what affects the mindset of most people, because they say what 95% of traders lose, but I think that really is about being an oversaturated market, to where the people that are entering aren't even ready to begin with, because they're not even ready with life. Like it's insane to me that they're going to go into this thinking they're going to make millions of dollars, but they don't even have themselves prepared to, their life is not stable. And with military, I'm not like promoting to go into it, but it really takes somebody with no structure, right? And forces you to have structure, regardless if that structure was correct or not, right? Regardless if it was. Think of anybody who is under 18 that especially in today's generation. A lot of them don't have direction, right? They don't know what they're going to do. They don't have an order to their life. They wake up, they do whatever, and there's nothing is fixed. So if you're going to trade, especially with futures where New York is king, it's really fixed, right? There's order to it. You gotta, even crypto. Like most people, when they especially I like to take my examples from Severin, because the guy's like super disciplined, which is one of our coaches. Like the dude plans out his levels daily, and I'm like, man, this guy's making me look bad. He's too disciplined. So no, just plain. But that's somebody who who's gonna do well because they're so structured. So if he's impacted in any way, he understands what to do, which is why journaling is so important. And with military, you just revert back to your training, right? So I was involved in a lot of high stressful situations, and trading is very stressful. It's very stressful, especially if you're a low time frame scalping. It it really pisses you off when it doesn't go your way, and it allows you to keep a cool head when things are, let's say you're slightly in red and you haven't been invalidated yet, but like let's say you're trading a value area, for those who know, um, and you're holding that short position from the value area high, and you haven't been invalidated yet. Your plan is you don't want a 15-minute close above that, right? And you're like going in red, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what should I do? Should I close it at this? But then it's no different when you are planning for something. Let's say Alpha team and Bravo team, like, you say, hey, this is our meet point. We're going to meet here at a certain time, right? And bullets are flying, like everybody's screaming on the radios, but then you're like, hey, we know this is what we got to do during this time. So everyone just focuses on that one thing, because everybody has a specific job, and you just focus on what yours is. And like for me, my specific job is that I'm taking a short on a value area high rotational trade, and I'm wrong if there's a 15-minute close above the value area high, right? And I don't care what's happening. It could be World War III. Pelosi could be talking, the FOMC could be happening, as long as there's no 15-minute close above the value area high, I'm sticking to my plan, you know?
And I think that's where discipline comes into play. And I love that Bruce Lee quote, water can flow,
Mm.
water can crash. Be water, my friend. So that's an incredible perspective, and seems like that's really served you in your trading as well, that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking on while we're talking about things that are maybe challenging or difficult, Daniel, I'm curious. Do you have any particularly challenging or adventurous stories from your travels abroad?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of, I've got many stories, to be honest, of things that have happened to me while traveling that have kind of gone bad. Um, I mean, probably the one that I'd pick on the one of the biggest ones that was most most like troubling to me during the time was I was actually traveling around Thailand, which is a very beautiful place, and the people are very, very nice. But I got wrapped up in a bit of a situation which wasn't so good, where I was withdrawing some cash at the time, and this was at night, so probably wasn't the cleverest thing to do. But I was withdrawing cash, and then all of a sudden, without knowing what's happening, some guys like coming up and like robbing me and wanting the money. And I gave him, I can't remember if I've told you this in real life, but I gave him the money, and he actually stabbed me, even though I gave him the money. Yeah. And the biggest problem was that I wasn't stabbed with a knife, but I was stabbed with a needle. And yeah, so then my biggest worry is like, oh my God, I've been stabbed with like a needle. And obviously then I could have, the first thing is like, oh my God, I could have AIDS or something like this, right? But I just like kind of got on with it at the time. I was just like, oh man, I've been stabbed by this needle, but I didn't really know what to do. And I was on my own at the time, but I was traveling with friends, and I went over to them. I was like, yeah, like this just happened, and I was just like, oh, let's just go to sleep, because it was already late. And so I just went to sleep. But then the next day I woke up and I was like feeling really sick. So then I went to the hospital and have a load of tests, and everything in the end came back fine. But then you're left with like 12 months of thinking, oh, if you have AIDS, then or HIV or whatever, then it doesn't show up potentially until 12 months. So I had like 1 year of thinking, oh my God, could I have something really bad? Thankfully, everything is good. But yeah, that happened while traveling, and it just really makes you always think that even in like even if you're with people that you are trusting, and even if you are in a place which feels safe, because I didn't feel in any danger, but it always just reminds you that anything can happen, like bam, and 1 second later, a really awful event can happen. And actually, did you see that in the Discord the other day? That reminds me. I won't mention names, but I read one of the champion members actually just died out of nowhere. You probably might have read that as well. And it just made me think, like, this guy has been in the group for like 3 years, learning, really happy with his trading. He got his girlfriend into trading, and then the next thing is like his girlfriend's writing, yeah, my boyfriend who got me into trading and always loved chart champions is dead. And it was just like, well, it just goes to show you, like, in life, like bam, 1 second, and that was in an accident, right? So just out of nowhere. And I've gone through experiences similar, where it's just always makes you realize that everything can be going really good, and then in a sudden instant, without even thinking about something, like, well, the worst thing is you could die, right? But many things can happen into you that are very, very bad, and also very good, right? But a lot of bad things can happen just so quickly without even being prepared for things. And so I would say that was kind of like the worst thing to happen to me traveling, but just made me keep this realization of, like, I think this was something that helps me, like, become grounded, with just always remembering, like, the world can turn upside down tomorrow. You can lose everything tomorrow. Something really, really, really bad can happen to anybody very easily. And so always keep that little bit of caution, and look over your shoulder a little bit, but also then just trying to, yeah, I would say that's kind of what I think about, of just like how quickly life can end just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And what a tragic what a tragic story for that individual, and honestly, how terrifying to get stabbed with a needle. I can't even imagine how that must have felt, or what. Yeah, I can't even imagine. So, but the fact that you've made it here, I think that you have a great perspective on it, and be honest, it's a great reminder for us all that when we are traveling, we need to keep our wits about us. You always need to do the risk analysis in your head. Is the risk that you're taking worth the reward? And always, just like in trading, only take those trades, or only do those things that have an outsized return, and that you can handle the risk. Because certainly you wouldn't want to risk something as valuable as your life, or the lives of the people you're traveling with. Yeah, so it's incredibly insightful. So, Paolo, I just wanted to talk with a little bit about, your experience with this, and since you've been to war, I wanted to know, was there anything particularly challenging or even adventurous that you did during your time on duty? Might be muted.
Yeah,
So
I think you're muted, Rivalry.
Oh, there we go. My bad.
we got you.
Okay, I said remix. Let's start over. So honestly, a lot, and unfortunately, it's fortunate and unfortunate, right? Because it's one of those experiences that you don't ever want to go through again. But I guess there's a hidden blessing towards everything. And I was in the army for 10 years, special operations, and my MOS was kind of like a job with the military, and it's a rate with Navy, MOS with Army, and it was flight medic. So, well, originally it was infantry, but then I transitioned to line medic, and then I went to flight school, and then flight medic. And during that period, my entire job was, healing injured, not, mostly all trauma related, and there that was the most difficult part because I only remember the ones I couldn't save. So that's something that's always still with me at this time, that weighs heavy on me, but those are the things that, we are thankful for, because, even during that time, you get to see what people reflect on, if even the ones who are not, like, let's say it's just a minor gunshot wound, they think they're dying, which is kind of funny, but it's not, and it's never funny when somebody gets shot, but as a, because you get so desensitized with so many injuries. The guy has like a few shrapnel from an explosion, and 3 shrapnel wounds, and he thinks he's dying, but he's what, 19 to 20 years old. Totally understand. But then they reflect, even as 19, 20 years old, they reflect, the most uh I guess ignorant and arrogant individuals that you know of, they always reflect on their life and how it ends, and for with that experience, it allows me to remind myself every single time when things are getting hard, things are um getting difficult. It's never an option to end your life. So it's one of those things that weighs heavy every single time I go through my own rough patches, because what the beautiful thing about experiences, any traumatic experience that any individual goes through, is that you can use it for your own strength, because you remind yourself where you come from, where you remind yourself what you've gone through. And a reminder is always a great thing, because it always leads up to the next battle. There's always going to be another giant right in your way, no matter what it is. So just remember that.
Well, so not only are you an incredible trader, but you're also an angel. Um, I really mean that because
Thank you.
you probably saved a lot more people and than you lost, and I think those people's families appreciate you, but not without even knowing you. So really incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
And Daniel, just really quickly, as we sort of wrap all this up and get over to the charts, I'm just curious, how has traveling in general and throughout your life broadened your view of the world and impacted your approach to challenges in life?
Yeah, I was. It's a really good question, and yeah, I need to think like hard and long about this one, because it's easy with my like viewpoint now. I was actually speaking with this question to my girlfriend, and my first thought is like was like, oh yeah, like, traveling, it's not really, it doesn't feel like it's changed me that much. But then like this is with my current viewpoint. And then she was like, well, you have to, traveling has changed you a lot. It's just that I lose track sometimes of like how like blessed I am to be in this position where traveling just feels like it's nothing. And obviously I never came like this, I have to think back a little bit to like how amazing it was to experience, like even going on a holiday. And so when I think back to like my first holidays, and then like what is like grown over the years, like then I can like list and think about so many like amazing ways that like traveling like changed my life. And I would say like one of the biggest things that I remember from like just like having to the excitement of like planning out of a holiday before you've gone, and having to like budget and plan about where you're going, what you want to do, how much you want to spend, and like going through that process of like planning something out, and how much of the excitement that you get from that. And by discovering new cultures, like broadening your eyes and opening your eyes to things that you've never seen before, like you learn so much about yourself, and by seeing how other people like live. Like I'll never forget when I went to Colombia for the first time, and obviously you hear stories, right, as someone living in Europe, of what it's like in South America, but I mean, we obviously poverty exists within England. I can't deny that, but not to the same extent as it does. You don't have people, you don't really have people like dying of hunger, so to speak, where they're like ultra skinny people, like malnutrition's like, well, it's very, very rare. Let's just say that in England, and maybe it happens, right? But in Colombia, it's a lot of people, like a lot of people are living like that. And so to go over and see how these people are like living, and what I will never forget is like seeing that and just how happy they are. And you see them, and you would think in your mind like, wow, these people are going to be like so sad, like this is an awful way to live, like I cannot even comprehend this. But they are like really happy, and it's just like this is their life, and they don't know anything else, and so they're just so happy. And for me, that was like a really, really eye-opening experience of just like you always are wanting to chase more, and I think a lot, especially in trading, right, there's always wanting to make more money, wanting to make more profits, and chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. And I really feel, and this was more so recently as well, maybe, to be fair, that I realize now from my own personal perspective, that I no longer have the want or need to chase more profits and chase more money. And like I'm reflecting on like how people are so happy when they have nothing, and it's all about perspective, to then bringing it back to my own perspective of, a few years ago I'd have wanted more and more and more, and now I've come to like peace of where I am, and it's like, man, I don't need to be focused on money, and I actually can see the dangers, or so to speak, like a danger, or how that can be really bad on someone personally that is maybe too obsessed with money and places more emphasis on money than they do on other aspects of their life. And I feel like I reached a point where I was maybe too consumed by just wanting to chase profits, and I would maybe put it under being addicted to trading. But at the end of the day, addicted to trading, wanting to just make more money, I reached a really unhealthy balance. So I would say like the trading aspect of the traveling aspect of like seeing people living with like and being how they were and being happy, and then reflecting that to myself of being able to come to like a conclusion of like, yeah, like enough is enough, like you don't need to be so obsessed with this anymore. It helped me bring a lot of balance to my life, and now, and this is also something that comes along with swing trading that also helped bring balance to my life, whereas I'm not so consumed where I'm always wanting to make more profits, where it's just like, now, hey, it's nice, I'm taking the trade to take the trade, I don't really care if I may win or lose money anymore. It's not, I'm happily where I am right now. So it's I'd say it all come together of like experiencing that, and then helping that change my own perspectives, and then just ultimately like traveling, when I really think about it, actually like massively changed my life and perspectives and way I view the world in an everyday life type of way.
I agree, and it sounds like you guys have had a similar experience to me in that traveling has not only broadened your view of different areas of the world and different cultures and different foods and different experiences, but it's also strengthened your gratefulness and your gratitude towards your own life, your own family, and those things in life which, we all hold most dear. So I just wanted to say thank you to Daniel and Rivalry for sharing your stories and sharing your funny stories and your scary stories. I think this has been an incredible chapter in our book, and I look forward to doing the next one. So now we have, I'm very excited about this, the member Q&A. And if you haven't already, there is a link open in the Discord for the Roundtable February 2024 live Q&A. If you want, you can post your questions there. I see only a few questions there at the moment, so I'll wait for a minute to for see if any more come in. But the first question is actually, I think this would go perfectly for both of you, but I'll ask Rivalry first. This is from MUPF. Shout out. Rivalry, when you travel, is it more of a vacation from trading so that you do little to no trading during that time? Or is it just where you go to see new cultures, new experiences, and no trading?
I do both because, I'll be completely honest. I don't need to trade every single day. I just love to trade. It's one of the things that I like doing. It's like a borderline passion. There's almost like a healthy addiction. I wouldn't call it an unhealthy addiction because if you love what you're doing, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you're in that anointed space for influence, I honestly believe that if you're appointed in that area to influence others to do great things, I think that's great and you should continue to do so. But I do love seeing culture, and I take the time to actually immerse myself with the people because I think culture is beautiful, especially even speaking as an American. Anyone who's an American in the chat right now, or anyone that's going to listen later, like if you just take a good look at our country right now, it's always about division and segregation, where I'm like, it just blows my mind because everybody's so beautiful in their own way. And when you take the time to get into I guess a scenario or a situation where it's sort of uncomfortable because you're new to it, you can see the beauty in everything. And sometimes you're like, wow, this is really amazing. I wouldn't personally ever do it myself, but it's still very amazing. You know, um, and you won't be able to do that with a closed mindset. And personally, I have witnessed many people who are just so fixed in their ways and they refuse to adapt to change, and they're just the most unhappy people. It's sad to see, like, let's say I was part of an organization, okay, not too long ago. And they're just so fixed in their ways. They don't want to be like anyone else. They said you're either part of us or you're not. It's almost like a cult, right? Which is kind of scary. And if you're not with them, like if let's say you're like them, you gain favor. But if you reject their notions, you have different opinions, it blows my mind, which is why I love how Chart Champions is now. We really champion for other ways that anyone who knows how I trade, I mean, like I say it all the time as a joke, man. If you want to run horoscopes and friggin' moon signs, moon cycles, whatever the heck you want to call, like if it makes you money, it makes you money. I'm gonna champion you is because in the end it's all about risk management and trade management, right? But obviously, what we promote here is technical analysis and the right way to trade, but it's not the way, it's a way, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to culture. There's no perfect culture, like every culture is beautiful in its own right. And when you take the time to learn it, it may not be for you, but it's definitely beautiful in its own right.
And it's almost like we're all experiencing everything from our own perspectives. And
Yeah,
when someone
absolutely.
comes to visit us, we can show them our culture. And then I personally love when I go to visit someone else that if they show me their culture, and then the fact that they're so welcoming and that they
Mm,
want to share all these things about their culture, that's been one of the most enriching things for me, is to just see how welcoming other people are. I don't know if you've experienced that too.
yeah, I have. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Daniel, the next question I think is for you. And the question is, how does Asia hours affect your trading? And do you think there is a link between how well you do with trading and the time zone that you live in?
Cool. Yeah. So I can do Asia from two perspectives. One from Singapore, Japan time zone of Asia, and one from more like a Dubai. So there's still quite a bit of difference between the two. One is obviously more extreme difference. When I was in Singapore, Japan time zone, obviously an hour between them, but that was honestly, and obviously this would be the same as we do have a lot of champions from Australia as well. Honestly, I felt that was a difficult time zone because you're just so far off the standards. What I would say is like London trading hours, and that's always been what all I've known throughout my life, London trading hours. So when I was in like like Japan, it was difficult. To trade. That was very difficult to adapt to. Personally, I didn't enjoy it because it was just so different than what I'm used to. If you're born in Australia and you live in Australia, you're used to your time zone, and you're going to make ways to make it work. And there's loads of different ways you could do that, right? But when I was just spending a bit of time there and the time zone was so different, I struggled with it a lot. Being a lot closer when you're talking about like a Dubai time zone, I think it's very easy because, you've got between 3 and 4 hour time zone, depending on the time of the year, right? But 3 or 4 hours from London. And so it's very easy to, you know, almost like fake that you're living in England. So you adapt yourself to being in a UK time zone. So obviously, it would be, let's say, 8 a.m. In the UK, but it's 12 o'clock in Dubai. I would still be living as if it was 8 a.m. in the UK. So I think that's the easiest way anyway for myself, because I love to trade the UK hours like London Open, and I like to go to sleep around a little bit before now, but I like daily close. It's just like I personally feel like Europeans have like the best time zone for trading. And so when you're in Asia, you not too far across the world, but if you're in around the Middle East, you can adapt yourself very easily to trade European hours, even though you're not actually in Europe, because there's just a few hours of difference. So that for me is like a strategy that I use to just trade the time zone that I want to trade, even though I'm not like living in it. It's an easy way to like adapt, and yeah, it's the easiest way for me anyway to trade the hours I want while not actually living in the hours that I want.
I think I agree with the fact that the London hours are the best for trading because you get to capture the London session as well as the New York session, and even the latter part of the New York session, the power hour. Yeah, I know it's probably a little bit later, but you still get that. So, well, thank you. That was really insightful. So I appreciate you for sharing. I am just waiting on for any other questions to come in. I see some people typing. Um, there may also be questions in the YouTube chat, and I can't see those. So if Daniel or Rivalry, if you see those and you wanted to answer one, please feel free.
I'll answer one.
Hey, go for it.
So Virus is asking, what does Chart Champions think of ICT? I think ICT is a great analyst. Okay, great analyst. There's a huge difference when it comes to actually trading. Um, I'm not going to speak on the allegations of demo account because it's not my place to. And even as a member of Chart Champions, I'm not here to ever bash on anyone because we're all in the same space of education, and he provides education, and if it makes somebody profitable, amazing. But one thing I will speak on when it comes to their community, that type of mindset is definitely not welcome at Chart Champions, where they believe it's the one all be all only way to trade. And I can tell you that that is not the one all be all way to trade. Another thing is, if you want to excel as a very high professional trader, you're gonna need footprint, unfortunately. I mean, if you're gonna high time frame swing trade, it's definitely not necessary. But he advertises day trading, low time frame scalping as well, and he uses mainly off his, fair value gaps without any footprint. And he believes a fair value gap actually is basically a single print in the incorrect way to teach, but based on the single print theory, okay, that Dalton actually taught back in the 80s. So for him to say and advertise that he came up with it, it's just a recycled way for an individual to bring up something that has been spoken on for many years by floor traders in New York and Chicago. Um, One thing that a lot of individuals do say is, hey, why does ICT traders, why are they profitable? They're profitable because for a very simple reason, because they follow blindly, not that it's wrong, a trading plan. If you look at the way they enter a fair value gap, there's a clear invalidation. And I know many traders, even unfortunately at Chart Champions, that learn our techniques still don't know when they're wrong, still don't know when they've been invalidated. They'll marry a trade, they'll keep martingaling into a trade to see because they want to break even, because they don't want to lose, right? They think about that loss. Let's say they're up 1,500 for the day and they're red and 700. They just want to make sure they end the day 1,500. They just want to break even, and they've already been wrong, validated a while ago, but then they believe, based on hope, which is not a trading plan, that it can come back down or come back up, whatever their entry is, and break even and then call it a day. But if they were, let's say, a very, very devout ICT trader, they've been invalidated a long time ago, assuming that entry has already been hit based on the fair value gap triple candle formation. And that's one of the reasons why they do so well, because there's a plan, right? They have a fixed way to trade, a fixed time to trade. And if you deep dive, I mean, there's lots of other ways in their model that he teaches, I'm sure. And I know there's going to be people in the chat like, hey, that's not the only way. I totally understand. But you cannot look at a candle and tell me that you can look and say that this is a value node without actually looking at what's inside the order. That's just the most ridiculous thing to say. And for somebody to say that he created the algorithm, it just I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I don't want it to get toxic. And I love what he does for the community in terms of teaching individuals how to trade who's brand new. If you're a brand new trader, I think it's a good way to get your feet wet, right? But as far as taking it to the professional level, I disagree wholeheartedly, respectfully. Okay, but there you go.
And I couldn't have said it better. If you go back and you read the books from the early '90s and the late '80s from Stadelmeyer and Markets or Mind Over Markets, you'll see that these systems were developed on the trade, with the Chicago Board of Trade, in the '70s and '80s, and that when this person was frankly probably in diapers. So the algorithm thing will remain a mystery, but I think we all know in our hearts that what the real answer is there. So
Yes,
really
absolutely.
quickly, and we're wrapping things up, and just a couple more questions here. Daniel, this one is for you. What are the favorite assets you like to swing trade while traveling, if you do, and what is your monitor setup in that case? Are you bringing a laptop? Or are you bringing external monitors?
Cool. Yeah. So for me, like for a while now, my favorite thing to trade is simply just Bitcoin. Um, for me, I just love to trade Bitcoin. So I must say, for me, the main asset that I'm trading is just literally Bitcoin on its own, not really so much anything else. Like I will still like occasionally trade alts, but so I'd say cryptocurrency, but primarily I just love to trade Bitcoin, especially when you look at the altcoins over the past like 12 months. I had a question about this today. Someone messaged me saying, it was in like the trading channel questions, and someone actually said to me saying, "Oh, Daniel, why aren't you longing like dots up like was up like 5%?" And I had to explain to them, like, if dot USD is up 5% and dot BTC is down 2%, then you're making more money by just trading Bitcoin. So I think a lot of people they look at the USD pair and they're like, oh my God, like today when Bitcoin was up 10% and they see DOT, for example, I'm just pulling this out at the top of my head, but DOT is up like 4%. And they're like, oh, why aren't you trading altcoins? Like the altcoins are really volatile. All the altcoins are green today. And you have to look at the altcoin against BTC is down. So yeah, DOT that says is up 4% today, but Bitcoin was up 10% today. Like you're just making more profit by trading Bitcoin. So yeah, for like around the past 12 months, I've just been focused on Bitcoin because a few factors really. Number one, it's just like the easiest to trade. And number two, it's actually literally been making the most gains. You're making more profits trading Bitcoin than you are alts anyway. So, but in terms of like when I'm traveling, yeah, just trading Bitcoin. And in terms of the setup that I'm doing it on, I was doing it really simple. And I know some people, I used to have comments saying, oh my God, like this is so newbie, like why are you doing it like this? But it was working for me, so that's why. And I just literally used a laptop, so I wasn't having to bring any external monitors with me or other things. I just had my monitor. I just had my the laptop with the inbuilt monitor, right? So I just had my laptop and that was it. And for me, that was fine. And even when I'm like home here in my office, and I know this doesn't work for everybody, but I still find myself trading on my phone a lot of the time. Like, even if I'm sat in front of my desk and I'll still actually take the trade on my phone, then I do actually. I really regularly take the trade on my computer, even when I'm sat here with everything on my screens. I'll still take the trade on my phone, but like I'm obviously using all of the software on my computer. But then even let's say I'm downstairs or whatever in the gym, and I'm still happily looking at everything on my phone, and will take trades on my phone. So like when traveling, yeah, for me the laptop and phone is personally anyway, like it was more than enough. Again, with swing trading, yeah, I think a laptop and phone is personally like all you really need. Of course, you could bring external monitors and it might help a little bit more, but from my perspective, I think a laptop and phone is, you can absolutely trade on that as a swing trader on Bitcoin with no problems.
Yeah, it's two screens, or even if you have a tablet as well as a laptop, I think that goes a long way. But on that note, since the Bitcoin chart has been so quiet these past couple of days, Daniel, do you want to lead us in some technical analysis and show us the Bitcoin chart to see what's going on there?
Yeah, sure. I will load up Bitcoin now. So I think this is gonna cool. Right. So I'm pretty sure everyone can see my chart now. They can't see your faces because it like hides when I'm looking at the chart. So, but I'm pretty sure everyone can see the charts now. If you can't, then just write in chat. But I'll continue because I'm pretty sure you can see it. Wow. I mean, yeah, I done a YouTube video this morning, right? And I was saying how I'm just like long and chill, expecting price to move up above 60K. And we can see, today has been one of the most craziest days in a very, very long time. Just absolutely massive move since the start of the morning to where we are now. But I mean, from the start of the morning to the high, it's over a 10% move. And obviously, I see a lot of people in chat during this stream are like really scared and worried or whatever. But, we have obviously seen like a 9% pullback. The first thing that I would say in terms of like, just that I can tell from reading, a lot of people are like really anxious and really worried. They're like, oh my God, why are you talking about this? Talk about Bitcoin. Over the past hour, Bitcoin has not really done anything, right? It's just moved down a very small bit after this rejection. So I think one of the biggest tips I could probably give people is just relax, just relax and take a breath. Like nothing's going to happen. Nothing crazy is going to happen here. So I think a lot of people lose money because they're just so anxious and so worried and like scared. And if you just like take a breath and just plan out your trades. Like if a trade had happened over the past hour, and I missed the trade because I'm on stream, I'm just like, I couldn't, who cares? I missed a trade. And you should also view that in the same way. Like if you're watching our videos, like we this is what we teach, right? You need to get into this mindset of like, if you miss a trade, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you miss a trade. So whether you miss a trade and you missed a 10% pump, or whether you missed a trade and you missed a 1% scalp, like it's kind of irrelevant. There's always another trade. There's always another opportunity. So I just really try and emphasize, first of all, of, just take a deep breath, and the market's going to be here tomorrow. The trades are going to be here tomorrow, right? So you really don't need to worry. And your worrying is only going to lose you money. That I can almost assure you. So in terms of the technical analysis, though, we've obviously hit like major levels, in my opinion, of where we are back right now. So we're obviously now at like 60,400. If you're a member, you already know this, right? But my personal bias is actually that we're going to go to all-time highs on Bitcoin now, while we maintain support. So even here on the lower term time frame, here we are on the 30-minute chart. Loads of people getting really scared. Oh my God, Bitcoin dropped like 10%. Like this is really bad. But look at this. What is this? Higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. If you go from here, this, even on this massive dump, was still another higher low. It didn't even take out this low. So I mean, like, yeah, it's a really big aggressive drop, like quick drop, but hey, it literally just still held another higher low, and that's the pattern of this trend, right? Just continuous higher lows. Like it's not that difficult to trade. So for me anyway, I'm under the perspective of, all-time high is the most highest probability. If there's pullbacks prior to this, for me, as I've been saying in the Discord like today, you've had a lot of buy the dip opportunities. So it's like, of course I can be wrong, but my thought process is a bias of like long and chill. I'm not really that scared or worried or like really aggressive on short trades. I believe we're going to all-time highs, and this is while we maintain the value area high of the range. So what we can do is like view this as a large range where we have our range low and our range high up here. And so once we got that, we can of course pull this like fixed range. So while we're above the value area high, why would I not think we're going to all-time highs? Like that's the way that I trade. So my thought process is, we're all-time highs. Of course, where am I wrong? And that would be, I wouldn't necessarily say wrong at this point. Like we can still go to all-time highs, but where I would have to admit like, okay, now the next local thing to happen would be more of a pullback is the highest probability. So we could pull back into a higher low and continue to all-time highs, but upon losing the value area high, I would not longer be like buy the dip mode so aggressively, and more like, okay, now I need to be more cautious and actually look for some short hedges here for a long-term swing trade. Because even if we pull back to the value of the point of control from value area high, this is a pullback of 17%, which is for me, like that's a massive percentage move. So while we're above the value area high, the highest probability from my trading strategy is that we are going to all-time highs. So, while we're above the value area high, I'm looking for all-time highs, and I'm more aggressive on like longs and this kind of, like you've all heard me say it a lot recently, like long and chill. Doesn't mean I'm not taking any short trades, but it just means like I'm keeping my longs long and my shorts short. So I will take some shorts, but I'm trying to get out of them really quick, trying to lock in a take profit one really quick. Generally speaking at the VWAP, because the VWAP is a nice intraday take profit one. So if I can take a short, take profit one VWAP, if I get stopped out on the rest of the trade, which would be my expectations, it was still a profitable trade. So really my perspective is we're going to all-time highs on Bitcoin while we're above the value area high. If we lose the value area high, then yes, I need to add in a layer of caution, because then the highest probability is we're getting a larger pullback first. But really, until then, I'm not worried. I'm not scared or anything about any of these drops. Pullbacks are to be expected. When I say I think we're going all-time high, I don't think that one candle goes to all-time high. I definitely understand there are levels prior to all-time high, right? We're currently rejecting And nothing goes straight up, so to speak, right? There are going to be pullbacks. So we could hit the weekly and get a pullback. We can could have hit the monthly and got a pullback. So there are levels prior to all-time high, but these for me are like minor levels, so to speak, while we're above that value area high. So for me, it's not that difficult to understand. It's a simple case of above value area high, highest probability is all-time high. Do I think we go in one straight line to all-time high? No. So there will be pullbacks on the way to all-time high, and they are acceptable short trade opportunities. For example, if we hit the weekly, I could look for a short trade here, but I would still be under the perspective of, okay, I'll take a short, but I want to get out of it really quickly, or at least take profit one, really quickly. I wouldn't close it fully, but I'd look to take profit one really quickly. And for me, that bias holds true while we're above that value area high. So, I don't need to like complicate it or make it any more confusing than that. For me, that is kind of like my analysis and how I can remain so calm, while there's a massive, let's say now we got a big, big move. It's like, okay, I've still got my plan. Nothing has actually changed for me. So, that's what I'm following and applying at the moment.
Thank you for sharing. And I just want to give a big shout out to you, Daniel, and Coach Igor. You guys' daily updates every single day covering the Bitcoin chart. It really has been helpful for myself, just getting a perspective on the markets, as well as finding trade setups. I don't know if anybody was watching the daily update on Monday from Coach Igor, but he gave a really incredible trading setup that played out perfectly. And so just a big shout out to you guys for all you do for the community and always keeping us on our toes and making us, when we have FOMO, making us realize that that's not the way, and always being a good positive influence in the chat. It really is helpful from my perspective, and I hope for other people as well. And so as Bitcoin continues to find a new high or breakdown, we've got a lot to look forward to on the charts. And as we get into the closing here, I'd love to hear from Paolo, just your perspective on the world's largest market, the S&P 500. Obviously, we've been floating with the all-time high. Now we've started to break structure a little bit. Would be curious to get your perspective on the ES stock market and where you think we could be headed.
Absolutely. Let me share my screen.
Perfect.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, they'll be able to see that. Yep.
All right, cool. All right. So the lovely thing about why I love trading futures is because it goes on a weekly close, right? And what I mean by that is that I've said it many times before that it opens on Sunday 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and closes Friday 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, you guys can do your conversions. So all futures is rotation trades, and this works on crypto as well, but it's a lot more respected on the futures market because it's literally a multi-trillion-dollar market, right? So you can literally pull the last week's profile, okay, and I manually pulled it right here, and now you're gaining acceptance. And I'll go ahead and talk about what's going to happen here, but I want to show you guys the respect on how this actually plays out before it even gets there, okay? So if you look at, say, something like the start of this week, okay, you start to build value above the previous value of previous week's value area high. So you're going to start to literally break to the upside and not rotate to the downside. But following this week, okay, you have an open here. All it is going to rotate the previous week. So if I go ahead and replay this right there, you can see clearly, okay, that the week opened here. So you're either looking at this as resistance or you're going to fully rotate to the downside. I know that's too low time frame for most people when it's 30 minutes. So I've came to a conclusion to where I like looking at it on the 4 hour. Okay. A 4 hour close would solidify for me a rotation. So take a good look at this and then switch it to the 4 hour, and you will see that we'll start right here. So this was a previous week. What happened the next week? No 4 hour closes inside acceptance. Okay. So if you have no 4 hour closes inside acceptance, this is what you call an imbalance, and price is going to go in price discovery because this is all time high, right? And as price literally was making all-time highs, it closed that week. And what happened the next week? You had no closes above. I mean, you can kind of say that this was one, but what happened when we closed below? You literally rotated the entire profile. Super easy. You can say that that's a news event, but honestly, that's how rotations work. If you understand what a value area is, it literally means 70% of the data traded, the data vertically for a horizontal pull. So all this is math. I don't know why people don't use it. It's super easy to trade. And what happens when you reach the full rotation? You need a 4-hour close under it, right? Did you get one? No, you didn't. So if you close it below, if you close back above it with a 4-hour close, that's what you call a rotational trade. This is price remaining in balance from previous value. Okay, this is what you call previous value. Okay, so if you close 4 hours in, the likelihood is a rotate to the upside, at least to the POC, which you got. What happened? You got a few 4-hour closes above the POC. So the likelihood is you're going to rotate back to the value area high. So that's exactly what happened. Okay. So what happened the next week? You were in what you call a no trade zone. This is what I said to the community. This is what you don't want to do, is be in a no trade zone. And all you need to do is either wait for the untested value right here, which you started creating an imbalance to the downside. And this is where footprint comes in handy, because if you are in what you call an imbalance zone, you need sells. People just don't understand this because they come from crypto and they always say, oh my gosh, look at all the sells at the bottom. Oh, they're being absorbed. And like, it's not really how that works, right? Because if you have sells that are overwhelming buys, you're going to go down. I don't care how much absorption there is. Okay. It's not until you close above is when you're considered them trapped. Because sometimes, like how Daniel said it earlier, they just rush into this. There's literally no patience. Like, let's say, for instance, even with Bitcoin, there's multiple buys, millions of buys up there. I don't consider them trapped until you have a daily close below that, where the bulk of those people are. So in the same regards to this, although this was trading below the value area high of the low of the previous week, they're in a sell imbalance to the downside. It did not maintain that pressure, which is why footprint comes very in handy. And you need to gain acceptance into this to rotate down here. Okay, so for current price action right now, it's very simple. You close below, multiple closes under. Okay, I'm expecting a full rotation to the downside, and that is right here, right? So overall, the market's still bullish, especially if you take in consideration and look at that perfect back test, by the way. I said this in the community, since we closed under, I'm looking for that 4-hour back test. We did take that short on live. And we updated the Discord, and that was probably one of the easiest shorts you could ever take. This was handed on a plate, guys. Super easy. And that's why I love it, because the levels are respected literally to the tick. And when you're wrong, you know you're wrong. Because if you look at, let's say, millions of dollars, billions of dollars trading in this market, you're not looking at absorption. You're not looking at crap traders, because when the move is happening, it will be confirmed, and it's not like somebody can stop it. Because I know myself, back in 2022, I was a very large trader on Bitcoin, right? And we used to make jokes on and the CC where, hey, rivalry, pull up a wall on a weekend, of course, okay, because it's lower volume. Myself, I can hold up Bitcoin with just myself on a weekend price action. And if I tried to do that on the futures market, I would be foolish to even try. That's why, a certain unnamed influencer who says his stops are getting hunted, it makes me laugh that people think that that's even possible, because nobody really cares about a small position, especially when it's trading billions of dollars of volume every single day. But with billions of dollars of volume that's being traded every single day, the TA is respected far easier. So, I mean, this is on YouTube, and the likelihood of, the rotation is higher probability than you breaking to the upside. Yes, you can break this down on an intraday level to where you can look at it on the daily, but the respect is going to be a little more wiki, which is I actually like doing that on, let's say, a micro time frame, right? So if you look at, let's say, you switch this to the daily, right? These are daily profiles because every day closes as well, right? Something as simple as this untested value, because this is untested because it's considered naked, was just revisited days later, right? So you have here, this was Thursday of last week. You create an imbalance to the upside, you trade, and then you just literally rotated and you found support, and now you're coming back in, right? And something as similar as this right here, this day, you had the overnight session, which is very low volume, come back down and retest that area. It was not until New York, where you quadruple in volume, where you actually officially backtest the previous day value area high. So all you need to do is trade the rotation. Very easy. Like, you have a level, it reaches resistance, you short, it reaches support, you long. And it's that easy, because when the move is happening on a multi-billion-dollar market, you know that there's conviction in the move versus, hey, is this enough volume? Hey, open interest is down. Oh, I don't really even look at that, because open interest in the futures market is always going to be very similar. If you guys don't believe me, you can go on the CME website and look at open interest on every single day. It's trading 4 to 5 million contracts daily, right? And one contract is roughly a nominal value of $250,000. So just kind of gives you an example of how much money is being traded. So when you look at something like this, I am completely bullish on a higher time frame until you gain acceptance back in the last time we distributed, because right now it's a massive uptrend. And the last time we had a distribution was in this section, and it's been up since then. So it's not until a daily close comes somewhere in here and it backtests to this area where I would consider the range. The next range would be from here to here, and that is still very bullish. That's 4,700 points on the ES. That's very, very high. So I'm looking only up, and it's not until, I mean, you to predict the top is going to be very difficult. Obviously, you're going to need very, very at least 2 to 3 months maybe to see how the downtrend is forming, because even here on the uptrend on the daily, this is what higher highs, higher lows, right? And there's not a single distribution here, right? There is a vertical distribution happening, which normally what happens on a vertical distribution is that when price distributes, it's like what staircase up, elevator down, right? And if that happens, let's say there's a bearish engulfing candle on the daily, wipes out this entire move, then I would be looking for that lower high to come in on a weaker delta. But that's pretty much it for me.
Well, thank you so much. That was an incredibly detailed update, and I just wanted to give a shout out to you as well, not only as an incredible trader, but someone who spends a lot of their time giving back to the community, helping other people, responding to messages, and posting your trading plans for everyone else to see. So huge shout out to you, man, as a friend and as a mentor. Really appreciate everything that you all do, and it's been an incredible journey for me as a trader to be able to interact with you guys daily. And if you're not yet a member and you want to check Rivalry out or Daniel out, there's multiple streams per week. Monday, Rivalry is doing an AMA, Ask Him Anything, and Fridays he's doing live trading. And we've got a ton of other videos as well, which you can check out at chartchampions.com. But for those who are still tuning in, I just want to give a thanks to you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for giving us your support. You guys are incredible. We love you, and I think this has been an incredible, insightful, and inspiring discussion to hear about your different experiences traveling, both the highs and the lows. And I think and I hope that everyone has taken something from this discussion. So with that, I think we can wrap up the February 2024 roundtable. Again, thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Yes, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.